What's going on, everybody? Welcome back here to the Justin Diedrich YouTube channel. Here with the Week 5 college football preview. As always, we're going to get into this right away. We're going to review last week, Week 4, take a look at some of those games, how those turned out. Then we're going to look ahead at Week 5, talk about some top performers, some interesting games, and do all that. I post these every week as well as videos in between as well. Video coming later this weekend. If you guys are interested in that, you're going to want to turn those post notifications and subscribe so that you don't miss it. But we'll get in here and we will recap week 4. Scrolling through here, NC State, Clemson. Clemson dismantled NC State. James Madison, North Carolina, 120 points scored in this one. North Carolina is not great, and James Madison might be very good. The defense still gave up 50 points, but he scored 70, won the football game. Iowa State destroyed Arkansas State. Michigan, USC, this was a big one. I don't think Michigan looked great. I don't think USC looked bad. I think, I mean, and those contradict each other, but at the end of the day, I still think USC is the better football team. I think you're going to have issues with Michigan going forward because they can't pass the ball. They need to get a quarterback who can throw the ball to the sticks. And do they have one right now? I don't know. Maybe not on their roster. They need to get one. They need to find a quarterback who can throw to the sticks. Because if you don't, you're going to have troubles coming maybe playoff time, later in conference play for the rest of the Big Ten. I don't believe in them. But good game. They won. The defense is still really, really solid. I do think they're going to have some issues coming forward that they have to address, but they'll get there when they get there. Good win for Michigan. Louisville fended off Georgia Tech at home. NIU, week 1 being ranked, and they fell to Buffalo in overtime. So NIU is no longer ranked. The dream, match into the playoffs, probably not happening. Rutgers beat Virginia Tech. Utah going into Oklahoma State. I don't know what was up with Oklahoma State. I mean, maybe Utah's defense is just that good, but Oklahoma State's offense just looked awful. I mean, Alan Bowman didn't look great. Ali Gordon hasn't looked great all season. And Utah, I think, is a solid team. They're winning these games without Cam Rising. They're looking solid. Isaac Wilson hasn't looked incredible, but definitely has potential, right? He's a true freshman. If you take the time to really develop Isaac Wilson, right, he's gonna get mentored by Cam Rising this season. He's getting his playing time. He's gonna come and be the guy next year when Rising's out of eligibility. And I think you've got a future really good quarterback, maybe a future NFL quarterback in Isaac Wilson. Obviously, you need to develop that. You need to bank on the development, but he's good and he's played well and he's winning these games for Utah. Good sign for them. Vanderbilt, Missouri. Vandy, you had a chance, man. They missed the kick. Missouri did not look good. They dropped in the rankings. I've been very vocal that I think Missouri is a top 5 team. That showing doesn't help me, but I still believe that they are. But they really need to step it up, or else they are going to have some struggles come farther SEC play. Let's see, what else do we got? Florida State picked up their first win on the year. ACC matchup, Cal at home. They got that one 14-9. Then we get into these later games. Tennessee, Oklahoma. Oklahoma benched Jackson Arnold. They're going to run with a new quarterback next week and going forward throughout the season. I believe his name is, yes, Michael Hawkins Jr., true freshman over there at Oklahoma. Meanwhile, Tennessee's defense is legit. They look really, really good. That offense struggled a little bit. It's in a hostile environment against a tough Oklahoma defense. But Tennessee is rolling. I mean, they do I dare say they're the SEC favorite right now? Maybe. I don't know. I don't want to jump my head of myself, but they're a really good football team. Texas A&M should not be ranked. They almost dropped to Bowling Green, and that's no slight against Bowling Green. I think they're the best team in the MAC conference. Their record's not going to show it, but they've almost come away with wins on the road against 2 top 25 teams. So give some respect for Bowling Green. They might end up winning the MAC. Arch Manning in Texas rolled UL Monroe. Colorado with the crazy touchdown to send it to OT. Then they win it in overtime against Baylor. Oregon State takes on Purdue and wins that one. Then we got later into the night. BYU dismantled Kansas State. And I don't know, is BYU good or is just Kansas State overrated? Avery Johnson did not look good. Kansas State's offense only scored 9 points. Meanwhile, BYU scored 38 points. Jake Retzlaff probably had his best game as a BYU Cougar. Is BYU one of the powerhouses or the best teams in the Big 12 this season? I don't think so. I still think I would take Oklahoma State, Utah, Oh my gosh, should I only just name two teams that I would take over them? No, I think I'm still taking Kansas State over them. I think Kansas State just had an off night in a very tough environment on the road at BYU. I mean, that's a tough home crowd. I will give it to BYU fans. They do well. I'd probably still take Arizona over BYU as well. So there's hope. There's optimistic hope if you're a BYU fan. But I still would pause on like playoffs. Then we look at those Friday games. Illinois beat Nebraska. Is Illinois legit? We'll see. They play Penn State. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But nonetheless, a good win to go into Nebraska and take that one. We'll kind of look here, scroll through, talk about some top performers, right? I think you got to go look at this NC State Clemson game, and maybe not even just for this week in general, but Cade Klubnik has been playing really, really, really good football. I don't think he's a Heisman candidate, but he's been playing well, and he's got Clemson's offense rolling. I think then you have to go and look at James Madison, right? I think this is my player of the week. Alonzo Barnett III, the quarterback for James Madison. What did he do this week at North Carolina? Well, let's take a look here. I've got the stats up. 388 passing yards, five passing touchdowns, no picks, 99 rushing yards, two rushing touchdowns. He didn't even fumble. I mean, he had seven touchdowns, over 450 yards, no turnovers. That's got to be top performer of the week, right? There's absolutely no one else you can nominate. Alonzo Barnett wins week 4 top performer. We're gonna look ahead. These week 5 games. We got some good ones, right? Big 10 play, Rutgers, Washington. I like Rutgers. Should be fun. Ole Miss, Kentucky. Kentucky coming into Ole Miss. The last time they did, they had Will Levis, and it was a pretty interesting game. I expect Ole Miss to throttle Kentucky. Oklahoma State, Kansas State. This one's interesting. A lot of people's top two teams in the Big 12. Um, how is Kansas State going to bounce back after a rough offensive week? How is Oklahoma State going to bounce back after a rough offensive week? I think we're either going to see an offensive explosion or both these offenses just fizzle out. BYU's first game in the rankings, they're coming in at rank 22. They're going to Baylor for Big 12 play. We'll see if they can stay undefeated, and probably if they win this game, they're moving into the top 20. So more conference play opens up for the Big Ten. You got Maryland, Indiana. If Indiana wins this one and starts 5-0, they should be in the rankings next week. Northern Illinois versus NC State. That game should be interesting because they were both in the rankings at a time. I mean, I wouldn't choose this over some of your other games to watch, but it might be something interesting to kind of keep tabs on if you got the multi-view maybe. Louisville, Notre Dame, 15 versus 16. Can Notre Dame get a ranked win? Another ranked win, I should say. Probably move up back into your top 15, maybe into the top 10. If you beat undefeated Louisville, I'm probably going to pick Louisville to win this one, personally. I don't fully believe in Notre Dame, but if you do, they got to win this one to prove they're legit. Arkansas, Texas A&M, 2 3-1 teams. See how Texas A&M bounces back after a rough outing versus the Falcons. Let's see. Colorado goes to the bounce house, and UCF in Orlando, Florida, take on an undefeated UCF. Colorado's 3-1. They're playing good football. UCF is 3-0. If they win this one, they're probably propelling themselves into the top 25 rankings. Colorado, if they win this one, will probably get ranked just based off name, but I don't think they're a top 20-25 team. Fresno State, UNLV. This one should be interesting to look at, especially now with what happened. Just came out last night with Matthew Sluka, their quarterback, who's no longer going to play for them. He's going to redshirt and enter the transfer portal off of what he's claiming to be NIL money that he didn't get, and what UNLV is claiming that they never offered it. It's a whole situation. I'm not going to get into that, but it's an interesting thing because that can really determine Group of Five playoff. I mean, UNLV is undefeated. They were really looking to be that Group of Five playoff team. If Fresno State goes in there and beats them, they might be the front. They might be the front runner. Continuing to scroll, Ohio State versus Michigan State. Come on, it's Ohio State. Iowa State at Houston. Houston's not a great football team. I saw them in person. I actually broadcasted. I commentated the game, Cincinnati versus Houston this past weekend. Yeah, no, Houston. Oh man, they have a lot of issues. If you're a Houston Cougars fan, I feel bad. Then we get into some of these big games, right? 7:30 games, 7:30 Eastern. Georgia at Alabama, 2 versus 4, 2 3-0 teams. This one's going to be crazy. I think this one's going to be an offensive battle, right? I mean, typically when you're seeing Georgia in recent years, you're going to think defense. Their defense is going to hold it down, but it's hard to hold down Jalen Milroe in this Alabama offense with Kalen DeBoer. I think that they're going to be rolling, and I think in order to answer that, Carson Beck is going to have to be on point. He didn't look great against Kentucky, right? That he was not on point for that one. He's going to have to be, though. He still hasn't thrown an interception this season. Neither is Jalen Milroe. I expect that to change, to be honest. Trevor Etienne he's been okay. I think this is really the week where Georgia's going to prove that they deserve that number two ranking, or that Alabama's going to win and propel themselves up to number one. Then we go look at Illinois, Penn State, some undefeated ranked Big Ten play. Is Penn State legit, or is Illinois legit? I don't think Illinois is going to walk in to Happy Valley and win this game, but I think they can keep it close and show that they deserve to be in the top 25. I'm probably picking Penn State, but close, maybe by a field goal or a touchdown. Boise State and Washington State. This one I think should be really fun. Boise State's in the top 25. They're 2-1. They're in the rankings. I think they probably are competing with teams like Fresno State, Toledo, UNLV to be that Liberty to be that group of five playoff team. If they beat Washington State at home, Washington State is 4-0. They've played really good football. Their offense has been crazy. Their defense has not been very good. But if they can hold Ashton GT and win this game, they're 5-0. They're probably in the rankings. If Boise State wins this one, they're probably solidifying themselves as the top group of five team, and probably who's going to be in everyone's bracketology for the group of five playoff slot. Then we go look at 10-15, Arizona, Utah, probably two people's at the beginning of the season would have been my top two teams in the Big 12, and probably were a lot of other people's top two teams in the Big 12. Now, Arizona hasn't looked necessarily all that good. Utah is probably the best team in the Big 12, and if they win this one, Cam Rising or no Cam Rising, I think I have them as a top 10, top 8 team easily. Easily. But that is all we're going to have for this video. Let me know down below if you guys agree with my takes, agree with my picks, if you have any other extra thoughts. I do read every single comment. I don't get them often, so when I get them, I read them. So you're going to want to comment things down below. Also, leave a like on this video, pushes it out to the algorithm so that I can get my channel a little bit more traction and a little bit more interaction, and that way I can get more videos out for you guys. You're also going to want to turn on those post notifications and subscribe, because we've got a mock draft coming later this week. Guys, mock draft time. It's back. Be ready. Mock draft coming later this weekend, so you're not going to want to miss it. So you're going to want to have those notifications on, and I will see you all in the next video.